Feeling is the secret. Neville Goddard spoke those words not as poetry, but as a direct revelation of how your reality takes shape. Could it be that everything, your relationships, your income, your health, is responding not to what you want, not to what you do, but to what you feel? This may sound strange at first, especially if you've been taught that hard work and positive thinking are the keys to success. But what if there's something deeper, a silent force within you that responds not to effort, but to your inner emotional atmosphere? If you've ever tried to visualize or affirm something you wanted, only to see no change, it's not because you did it wrong. It's because the feeling wasn't there. You were saying the words, but your emotional body was still echoing lack, doubt, or fear. In this video, we're going to shift that. We're going to go beyond theory and into experience. You'll see how the right feeling, not just any feeling, but the feeling of already having your desire, is the seed from which all outer change grows. We'll explore why assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not a performance. It's a sacred agreement between you and your future. You'll learn the difference between trying to make something happen and simply feeling it real. And most importantly, you'll leave with practices you can use tonight and every day forward to manifest with precision, grace, and ease. So I invite you, wherever you are right now, to pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I feeling most of the time? And what has that feeling been silently creating around me? Because once you understand how feeling works, you won't need luck. You won't even need time. You'll just need the willingness to feel differently, on purpose, and with faith. Let's begin. The feeling is the key for manifesting. Why is it that two people with the same goal, the same amount of effort, and even the same vision boards can arrive at such different outcomes? One seems to glide into fulfillment, while the other walks endlessly through delay. The answer lies not in action, nor in chance, but in feeling. It is feeling, not thought alone, that impresses itself upon the subconscious and calls forth the outer world. Neville Goddard said it plainly. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe yourself to be. And that belief, he explained, is not intellectual. It is emotional. It is what you feel yourself to be. So let us clear the illusion once and for all. No amount of effort, repetition, or even positive thinking will create lasting change unless it is infused with a corresponding emotional state. It is not the image of the desire that creates. It is the emotional chemistry that surrounds it. Imagination, in this sense, is like a sculptor, but feeling is the clay. Without feeling, your visions remain unformed, floating in the abstract, unable to materialize. You may imagine a beautiful life, but if the feeling underneath is anxiety, doubt, or need, then that becomes the raw material shaping your world. Think of the subconscious mind as fertile soil. You may plant a seed, an image, a desire, but the emotional vibration you hold is the water that nourishes it or the poison that withers it. A desire held with fear grows fear. A desire held with joy grows life. So I invite you to ask, deeply and honestly, what is the emotional climate you return to again and again? Not just when you're visualizing or meditating, but in the in-between moments, when you're brushing your teeth, walking to work, lying in bed at night. Is your dominant feeling one of lack, frustration, striving? Or is it one of contentment, gratitude, quiet certainty? Neville once wrote, "Your assumption, to be effective, cannot be a single isolated act. It must be a maintained attitude of the wish fulfilled." That attitude is not about pretending. It is about emotionally moving in, living inwardly from a new address, even while the mail still arrives at the old one. You cannot deceive your subconscious. It does not understand words, affirmations, or surface-level thoughts. It understands only feeling. Feeling is the language of the deep self, the invisible composer of visible life. Imagine just for a moment that your emotional state is a radio frequency. What song is playing on your channel? Are you tuned to sadness and expectation? Or are you already broadcasting fulfillment, peace, and joy? Because life will send back the music you're tuned into. Not the one you say you want, but the one you feel is yours. This is not about guilt or blame, it's about awareness. Because once you become aware, you can begin to choose differently. What if you began treating your feeling as sacred? What if, instead of chasing the outer world, you prioritized nurturing the inner one? It would mean that every day becomes a creative act, not of effort, but of emotional alignment. So again, I ask you, what feeling are you loyal to right now? And if your world is just a mirror, what would it begin reflecting if you dared to change the feeling behind the face? Choose wisely, because the world is not responding to your desire. It is responding to the emotional signature you carry. Silently, constantly, creatively, act as your desire is realized. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to become the version of yourself that no longer needs to wish. It is to live, breathe, and move from the end, as if the invisible had already become visible, as if the dream had already rooted itself into form. This is not wishful thinking. It is the most profound creative act a human being can make. Neville Goddard did not teach manifestation as a hopeful plea to the universe, nor did he present it as a reward for the deserving. He taught it as a discipline of consciousness, to dwell in the state of the wish, fulfilled so completely that the world must conform to match it. He said, "You must make your future dream a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled." Now this can sound abstract, even confusing until we begin to see what it truly means to act from the state of the fulfilled desire. Most people are trying to make something happen. They ask, they affirm, they visualize, but all from the perspective of not having, from the version of self that is still hoping, still seeking, still lacking. They imagine a new life while emotionally anchored in the old one. Let's draw a clear line here. There is a fundamental difference between imagining a desire and assuming its reality. The first is a glimpse. The second is a choice, a total inner shift of identity. Imagine a stage actor who must play a powerful, confident king. He doesn't step on stage half believing he's royalty. No, he studies the king's posture, his voice, his stillness. He takes on the king's perspective, the king's reactions, until the audience believes him, because he believes himself. In that moment, the actor is not pretending. He is being. This is the approach we must take with our desires. If your desire is to be in a loving relationship, you must become the one who is already loved, not waiting for someone to arrive, but walking through life as if the connection already lives in your heart. That shift transforms your energy. You stop seeking love and begin radiating it. If your desire is to succeed in your craft, you must become the version of yourself who already holds that success, not performing to prove your worth, but offering your work as one who knows their value. That state of being doesn't ask the world for permission. It expresses the fulfillment of what already is inwardly. And this isn't limited to dramatic moments. It's found in the quiet details. How do you stand when you already believe in yourself? What tone do you use when speaking to others, knowing that you are already chosen, already abundant? What decisions do you make when fear no longer leads the way? To act from the realization of the desire is not arrogance. It is alignment. You are not pretending. You are claiming. And your subconscious does not question what is real. It accepts what you feel to be true. Neville makes it clear. Assumption, if persisted in, will harden into fact. But persistence does not mean struggle. It means emotional constancy, a stable inner atmosphere, a new baseline from which you live. This leads us to a vital clarification. Many misunderstand this principle as fake it till you make it. But Neville was never concerned with appearances. He was concerned with internal conviction. Fake it till you make it implies that you are not yet that which you want to be, and that through outer action, you'll somehow become it. Neville's teaching reverses this entirely. You become it first, inwardly, emotionally, imaginatively, and the world rearranges to reflect the truth of your new identity. So how do you do this practically? It begins with imaginal rehearsal. Close your eyes and enter a scene, not one where the desire is happening, but one that implies it already has. Don't visualize from a distance. Enter the body of the person who is living that fulfilled life. See through their eyes. Feel through their heart. Let it be natural, even mundane. For example, don't visualize the wedding ceremony. Feel the weight of the ring on your finger as you wash your hands. Don't imagine signing the contract. Imagine someone casually congratulating you, and you feeling the deep calm of already knowing it happened. These subtle scenes anchor the desire in the present moment, not in the future. And in truth, all manifestation is bringing the future into now. But you must take it further. You must bring this feeling into your day. When you walk, ask, "Am I walking as one who already has it?" When you speak, ask, "Is this how the fulfilled version of me responds?" When you pause to reflect, ask, "What am I assuming in this moment about who I am?" The world will always mirror your dominant assumption, and your assumption is revealed not by what you say, but by how you feel, how you choose, how you carry yourself in the invisible theater of your day. Let me offer you a simple, powerful test. The next time a worry or doubt arises, don't suppress it. Step into the state of the one who has already received. Ask, if it were done, how would I feel right now? Then breathe into that feeling. Let it change your posture. Let it inform your next action. Let it become your identity. Because you are not manifesting from lack. You are manifesting from truth. The truth of what is already yours in imagination. And imagination is the only true reality. So I leave you with this. Can you practice walking through the world today not as the one who waits, but as the one who remembers it is already done? Can you move from a place where nothing is missing, where every gesture is informed by fulfillment, not need? If you can, if only for a few minutes each day, you are no longer trying to manifest. You are being what you once sought. And when that shift becomes stable within you, reality will have no choice but to catch up. Before we continue, take a moment to check the pinned comment below. If you've ever wondered how to truly live from the end, not just in quiet moments of visualization, but in the middle of your ordinary day, that's where you'll find something that brings this teaching even closer to your reality. It's not about adding more effort. It's about shifting the feeling beneath everything you do. Go have a look. You'll know exactly why it's there. Then come right back. We're just getting to the part where everything starts to move. There is no outer force deciding when or whether your desires will be granted. There is no divine bureaucracy delaying your blessings until some checklist is complete. What exists instead is a law. A simple, profound law that governs all creation. The law of assumption. Neville Goddard didn't invent this law. He uncovered it, lived it, tested it, and taught it with unwavering clarity. The law of assumption states that what you assume to be true, what you emotionally accept as your reality, will, by law, harden into fact. This law does not require belief in mysticism or religion. It requires only one thing: the willingness to accept that your inner world is the source of your outer world. It asks you to take full responsibility, not in the sense of blame, but in the sense of authorship. You are not the victim of circumstance. You are the dreamer of the dream. And through the act of assumption, you move from spectator to creator. But what does it mean to assume? To assume something is to take it on as real, regardless of whether the senses confirm it. It is to enter the feeling of the wish fulfilled and remain faithful to that feeling, no matter what appears to contradict it. You are not waiting for the world to show you evidence. You are giving the world the blueprint. This is not about forcing yourself to believe something you don't. It is about gently, consistently shifting your loyalty from what is seen to what is felt and imagined. It is about aligning emotionally with the version of life you choose, until that version becomes the only one you respond to. Neville explained this beautifully when he said, "A change of feeling is a change of destiny. You do not have to convince anyone. You do not need to argue with reality. You only need to assume the state that implies your desire is fulfilled and persist in that state." But persistence here does not mean strain. It means repetition, emotional repetition, returning again and again to the inner world where your desire is already real, feeling the relief, the joy, the stability of that reality, watering it with your attention, not because you're desperate, but because it has already become familiar. Let's use an analogy. Think of your imagination as a radio dial. Each station broadcasts a different version of your life. One channel plays lack and disappointment. Another plays love and abundance. You do not create the music. You tune into the music already playing. The law of assumption is your dial. When you assume a state, you are tuning into its frequency. You hear its music before anyone else does. And in time, the rest of the world begins to dance to what only you could hear first. Now consider how most people approach their desires. They wait. They negotiate with reality. They say, "When I see the evidence, then I'll believe." But this reverses the law. The law is not see it, then believe it. It is believe it and you will see it. Neville made this crystal clear. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and continue feeling that it is fulfilled until that which you feel becomes your reality. The moment you assume something to be true of yourself, your world begins to reshape around that identity. Not because of luck, not because of time, but because consciousness is the only creative force. This is why it's essential to choose your assumptions with care. If you assume you are unlucky, life will reflect circumstances to validate that. If you assume people don't respect you, you will unknowingly evoke that behavior in others. But if you assume you are valued, seen, and supported, the world, like a mirror, will begin to reflect your new inner stance. And yes, resistance may come, old patterns may echo, but the law does not ask for perfection. It asks for consistency. for emotional commitment. When your assumption becomes more dominant than your doubt, creation is inevitable. So ask yourself, what have I been assuming about myself lately? What do I believe the world is reflecting back to me? And more importantly, am I willing to assume something greater even if nothing yet confirms it? This is the invitation of the law of assumption. Not to force change, but to inhabit it. Not to chase the future, but to embody it now. Not to hope, but to know. Because the moment you assume the state of the fulfilled desire, everything necessary for its realization is set in motion. You do not have to make it happen. You only have to feel that it already has. Feeling is the secret. There is a threshold that few recognize but all pass through each night, the thin space between waking and sleep. In that soft, impressionable state, the conscious mind begins to dissolve, and the subconscious mind stands open, receptive, and unguarded. This is the door to creation, and it is here that one of Neville Goddard's most powerful techniques lives, assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled in the state akin to sleep. But before we speak of technique, we must return to the principle behind it. Neville's most famous work is titled "Feeling is the Secret," and it's not a poetic phrase, it's a precise formula. The subconscious does not respond to words. It responds to feeling, to emotional tones, to atmospheres. When you speak an affirmation with no feeling behind it, the subconscious mind remains unmoved, like a locked door with no key. But when you feel, authentically and fully, as if your desire were already fulfilled, the door swings open. The seed is planted. This is not metaphor. It is law. Neville wrote, "Your subconscious impressions determine the conditions of your world." The subconscious is impressed through feeling. Feeling is the one and only medium through which ideas are conveyed to the subconscious. This is why so many people repeat affirmations for months, or visualize elaborate scenes without seeing results. They are speaking to the mind, not to the soul, and the soul listens only to feeling. But what if you could bypass the noisy surface mind, the doubts, the resistance, the need to control, and speak directly to the subconscious? This is exactly what Neville offered through the state akin to sleep. He described this as the drowsy, relaxed condition that naturally arises just before you fall asleep. At this moment, the critical faculties are quiet. Your conscious defenses weaken. You are, in essence, halfway between worlds, and in this liminal space, your imagination gains power. What you feel here sinks deep, like a stone dropped into still water. So how does one apply this? The process is simple, but it requires sincerity. As you lie in bed at night, allow your body to become still and relaxed. Let your breath slow. Let your mind drift from the events of the day. Then, construct a short, vivid scene that would take place if your desire were already fulfilled. Not a grand event, but a small, believable moment, a gesture, a phrase, a glance that implies everything is complete. Perhaps it is a friend congratulating you. Perhaps it is the feeling of your hands around the steering wheel of a new car. Perhaps it is the warmth of your partner beside you after reconciliation. Choose something emotionally rich and symbolic of completion. Now the key: enter the scene as if it were real. Don't observe it like a movie. Step into it. Feel it with all 5 senses. Hear the sounds, see the light, sense the texture, and above all, feel the emotion that would naturally arise if it were truly happening. That emotion is the signature that imprints itself on the subconscious. Neville warned not to make the scene long or complex. The subconscious responds best to brief, focused impressions. Like a flash of lightning, the feeling must be sharp and sure, and repetition is not about force. It is about familiarity. The more natural this feeling becomes, the more inevitable its reflection in the outer world. Now, you may ask, what if I fall asleep while imagining? Neville's answer: even better. Sleep in the assumption. Let your final emotional state of the day be one of fulfillment. In that way, the subconscious takes it in as its nightly nourishment. As he said, the conditions and events of your life are your children formed from the molds of your subconscious impressions in sleep. Let us be clear, this is not escapism. It is not fantasy. It is conscious creation. It is a deliberate use of imagination, the only creative power there is. And the beauty of this practice is that it requires nothing outside of you. You don't need a specific environment. You don't need incense or affirmations or long rituals. All you need is your own inner willingness to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and the humility to do it quietly, faithfully, without needing instant proof. It's in this nightly space that you rehearse your new identity. You stop reacting to the day you just had and begin tuning into the life you are choosing. You dissolve your loyalty to the past and establish intimacy with the future by making it your present. So ask yourself tonight, if my desire were already fulfilled, what would I feel as I drift to sleep? Can I feel the joy, the peace, the satisfaction? Not as something to reach, but as something to rest in. And as you surrender to that scene, as you close your eyes in its embrace, remember, you are not preparing for something that might happen. You are rehearsing what is already real in the realm that matters most. Consciousness. In the quiet softness between worlds, you plant the seed, and if you persist in watering it, not with effort but with feeling, it must bloom. That is the promise, that is the law, and that is your power. Syntonize the accomplished desire sequence. Every desire you hold already exists in some form within consciousness, not as a fantasy, but as a living potential, a version of reality that is as real as the one you are experiencing now, but vibrating at a different frequency of being. The question is not whether it exists. The question is, are you tuned into it? Neville Goddard taught that we do not create reality from scratch. We select it. We do so through our assumptions, and more precisely, through our emotional state. He often compared this process to tuning a radio. The music you want to hear is already in the room, but unless you are tuned to the right frequency, you won't hear it. And so it is with the life you desire. It is playing now, silently, in the unseen. But only the version of you who matches its emotional frequency can hear it and receive it. Most people live on the frequency of what they do not want. They dwell in fear, lack, frustration, and disappointment, and then wonder why life continues to echo those feelings back to them. But life, like a perfect mirror, reflects your dominant vibration, not what you wish for, but what you embody. Neville put it clearly, you must be in the consciousness of being healthy if you are to manifest health. You must be in the consciousness of being secure if you are to manifest security. The key word is being. Not wanting, not hoping, being. But how do you shift into that state? You begin by identifying the feeling tone of your fulfilled desire. If your wish were now realized, how would you feel? Not just conceptually, but physically, emotionally, energetically. Would you feel safe, grateful, relieved, empowered? What would the atmosphere of your day be like? And then, without needing evidence, you begin to generate that feeling. You tune yourself to it, like turning the dial of your own awareness, and hold there. This is not a forced emotion. It's a soft alignment, a chosen mood. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're remembering a version of yourself that already exists and choosing to dwell in that version now. Let's bring this into the practical. You don't need hours of meditation or perfect conditions. You need sincerity, attention, and emotional involvement. Even 60 seconds of true feeling is more powerful than an hour of mental effort. Begin with something simple. Sit in silence, breathe deeply, and ask, if it were done, what would I feel right now? Then, let that feeling rise. Let it fill your chest. Let it soften your body. Let it reshape your thoughts. From this state, speak, move, create. Let it become your emotional home. And when you fall out of that state, as you will, don't panic. Gently return. This is a practice, not a performance. The more you return to the desired frequency, the more natural it becomes. And as it becomes natural, it becomes inevitable. It's important to understand that the frequency of the wish fulfilled is not necessarily the highest, most ecstatic emotion. It is the most real. Sometimes that means joy. Sometimes it means peace. Often it means quiet satisfaction, a deep inner knowing that nothing is missing. Neville explained, to feel a state as real and natural is to have found the secret of creation. When the new state feels more familiar than the old one, when the feeling of the fulfilled desire becomes your resting point, then outer changes are not just possible, they are guaranteed. You cannot force manifestation from a state of lack. You cannot beg your way into abundance, but you can tune yourself to the energy of completion. And that tuning changes everything, not by changing the world, but by changing the version of the world you are able to access. So ask yourself, what frequency have I been living on this week? And what would change if I chose to tune into the version of myself who already has what I long for? You are not waiting for your desire to come to you. It is waiting for you to match it, emotionally, faithfully, gently. Because once you align your internal dial, the music begins, and what once felt distant begins to feel inevitable. To truly apply these principles, it helps to witness them in action, not only as ideas but as felt experiences. Imagine this. You're holding a small key in your hand. It's not just metal, it's meaning. It's the key to your new home. You don't need to see the house. Just feel the reality behind the gesture, the security, the quiet joy, the sense of belonging. That emotional impression is more powerful than 1,000 thoughts. It's simple, but it carries the entire assumption that the wish is fulfilled. Or picture reading an email with the subject, "Congratulations, you've been promoted." Let yourself react to it as if it were real, not with excitement driven by need, but with the calm satisfaction of someone who knew it was coming. This is the essence of conscious creation, not forcing outcomes, but practicing inner responses. Now consider Clara. Burdened by debt and stress, she tried to manifest more money by visualizing checks, counting imaginary bills, but nothing changed. Then, she made a subtle shift. She stopped focusing on money and began to feel the relief of being financially free. She imagined the peace of checking her account and feeling calm. That one feeling, relief, was enough. Within weeks, unexpected income began to arrive, not through magic, but through alignment. Neville said, "The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself." When you embody the emotional signature of the fulfilled desire, the mirror has no choice but to reflect it. So ask yourself, what's the smallest scene that would prove to you that your desire is already real? Not someday. Now. Enter that scene, feel it deeply, and let it become your new inner home. That's how change begins. Quietly, internally, and inevitably. The power is inside you. All the teachings you've heard today lead to one truth. The power you seek is not outside you. It has never been. It is not in the people you meet, the conditions you chase, or the timing you wait for. It is in your capacity to feel deliberately, to choose your state of consciousness and live from it faithfully, consistently, creatively. Neville Goddard said, "Man is all imagination and God is man and exists in us and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself." This is not philosophy. It is instruction. The God you have been praying to is your own awareness of being. And through that awareness, through the feeling of already being what you desire, you become the vessel of creation. But knowing this is not enough. You must apply it. You must treat your inner world as sacred. You must tend to your assumptions as if they were living seeds. And you must understand that your emotional loyalty, your consistent feeling, is what brings form to the formless. There will be moments when the world contradicts your inner state, moments when old patterns resurface or delays seem to appear. But these are not signs to stop. They are invitations to deepen your trust, because the world reflects not what you affirm once, but what you believe persistently. And belief is not built through force, it is built through feeling, through dwelling, through repetition. So begin gently to feel from the end. Make it your daily practice, a sacred ritual, not to make things happen, but to remember who you already are. You are the creative power in your own life. You are the source. You are the cause. And the moment you dare to feel differently, the world must follow. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered the truth. Creation is finished. You are only selecting states, and the state you now feel is the life you will soon live. Before you go, if today's message stirred something in you, even quietly, make sure to check the pinned comment. There's something waiting there for you, something that might take what you've heard and turn it into what you know. Don't miss it. Let curiosity lead you.